everyone, my name is Nickita and this is my video submission.
It's amazing to think that despite our physical differences, we all share one commonality, the fundamental construct of the human brain. The convolutions of gray matter and white matter in our brains, our temporal, parietal, occipital, and frontal lobes all help us perceive, think, and behave in certain ways. Have you ever wondered why if you touch a stove when it's hot and burn your finger, you know not to do it again? Well, that's a concept of learning that behaviorist Ivan Pavlov was set to figure out. Pavlov created a series of experiments to observe whether dogs could learn associations between two stimuli. He presented dogs with foods and measured their subsequent reaction of salivation. Pavlov quickly noticed the food was the unconditioned stimulus, and the saliva was the unconditioned response, meaning the food naturally produced the reflexive behavior of producing saliva. This led Pavlov to wonder whether he could teach the dogs to salivate to something other than food. To test his hypothesis, Pavlov rang a metronome bell half a second before presenting the dogs with food several times. After a while of presenting his two stimuli together, Pavlov removed the food from the equation and found that the dogs would salivate to just the ring of the metronome. In other words, the food, which was at first the neutral stimulus, or the stimulus that did not evoke a behavior in the subject, transitioned into becoming the conditioned stimulus, to the one that did produce the saliva. The salivation to the ring of the metronome then became the conditioned response. Pavlov had just successfully classically conditioned the dogs to associate two stimuli. Classical conditioning is one of the two behaviorist theories of associative learning, and explains our own reflexive human behaviors, such as flinching, shivering too cold, and sweating when it's hot, to name a few. Even though Pavlov's experiments were on animals, his behaviorist principles supported his findings, as his branch of psychology fundamentally believed that animals and humans learned in similar ways. Now, even though Pavlov's experiments were questioned by later psychological approaches, his behaviorist method and measurable experimentation helped establish psychology's credibility as a more quantitative science. His findings served as a basis for further psychological inquiries and helped develop the cognitive and strengthen the biological psychology branches. It's amazing to think that despite our physical differences, we all share one commonality, the fundamental construct